Welcome to a new episode from English Plus Podcast. And today's episode is all about vocabulary, and we will learn new words from our little story about Mary Cassatt. Now, many of you might not know Mary Cassatt, but I'm pretty sure that after this little story of ours, you will know a lot about her. So, without further ado, let's start with the story.
Mary Cassatt. Throughout her life, American painter Mary Cassatt demonstrated several important traits that contributed to her success. A passion for painting, hard work, and extensive study empowered her to achieve success in an age when few women had careers. She first studied art in Pennsylvania, where she was born in 1844. To supplement her training, she traveled to Europe and visited great art museums in Rome and Madrid. Above all, she spent time in Paris, then the center of the modern art world. Her confidence surged when, in 1868, her painting, A Mandolin Player, was accepted for exhibit in a famous Paris art show. She decided to settle in Paris and to devote herself to a life of art. Degas saw Cassatt's work, and in 1877, he asked her to join the Impressionists, a group of artists who used shimmering color and bold brush strokes and experimented with light, shadow, and form. Cassatt's prestigious colleagues included Monet, Renoir, Cézanne, and Van Gogh. In Marie Cassatt's day, most women married and raised families. Few women had careers. That did not deter her. Cassatt decided not to marry, making the conscious choice of art over family. At first, Mary Cassatt painted typical scenes, social events, nightlife, people at work, and scenes of the theater. Eventually, she decided not to adhere to these themes alone. She chose instead to portray domestic life. Although she did not have a family of her own, her tender mother and child portraits became her most beloved pictures. Cassatt produced over 200 works during her career. When her vision began to fail in 1911, she was forced to give up art. She died near Paris in 1926.
So I hope you learned something that you didn't know before about Mary Cassatt. You may not have heard of her, which is a shame, of course, because she was an incredible woman, especially talking about the time she lived in. It was not an easy time for a woman to have a career, let alone be a famous artist along with Renoir, Van Gogh, Degas, and others. But, of course, after we learn about Mary Cassatt, now we come back to our vocabulary builder episode and what we are here to do. We are going to learn 6 words from the text. And, of course, there are more words if you take the link I leave in the description and if you want to add more to your vocabulary bank. But from our story of Mary Cassatt, we have 6 words: trait, empower, supplement, surge, deter, and adhere. So let's start with the first word, trait. Now, in our story, we said American painter Mary Cassatt demonstrated several important traits that contributed to her success. And then we talked about those traits. We said a passion for painting, hard work, and extensive study. So, what do we mean traits when we talk about traits and those traits, important traits that contributed to her success? Aren't we talking about qualities here? When we talk about traits, we're talking about a particular characteristic, quality, or tendency that someone or something has. And usually we talk about traits to try and describe people's personalities. And that is the case here. And by the way, trait is spelled Trait. So that was our first word. And now for our next word, empower. Now when we continue talking about her traits, and we said that a passion for painting, hard work, and extensive study empowered her to achieve success in an age when few women had careers. So what is the meaning of empower? Now we can't help but notice that empower comes from the word power. But when we add em at the beginning of power, what does that mean? Now, obviously, if you look at the context, we talked about her passion, her hard work, and extensive study. All of these things empowered her to achieve success. So it gave her the power she needed to achieve success, because these things were obviously important to achieve the success she achieved in her day. So to empower someone means to give them the means to achieve something. For example, to become stronger or more successful. And we use empower in a more formal sense. If someone is empowered to do something, they have the authority or power to do it. So that is kind of official. Like when we say the army is now empowered to operate on a shoot-to-kill basis, which is a shame, of course, in some situations, but sometimes it's necessary. I don't know why it is necessary, but sometimes it is. So anyway, so that is the meaning of empower, which is spelled E-M-P-O-W-E-R, empower. And now for our next word, supplement. Now, supplement is spelled S-U-P-P-L-E-M-E-N-T. Now, in our story, we said to supplement, after we talked about her career and her extensive study, etc., we said to supplement her training, she traveled to Europe and visited great art museums in Rome and Madrid. So if you think about it and think about the context, does that mean that that was the essential part of her training? That was everything she had? Or no, that was an addition to what she had, but an important addition, we have to say. So, in addition to her passion for painting, hard work, and extensive study, which empowered her in the first place to achieve success, she wanted to supplement her training. And that's why she traveled to Europe and visited great art museums in Rome and Madrid. So, if you supplement something, you add something to it in order to improve it. So that is the supplement. Like when we say people doing extra jobs outside their regular jobs to supplement their incomes, to improve their income. Or when we talk about supplementing your diet with vitamins E, A, etc. So that is also adding to your diet to improve your diet, especially with vitamins. So that was the meaning of supplement. Now for our next word, surge. S-U-R-G-E. Surge. Now, in our story, we said her confidence surged when in 1868 her painting, A Mandolin Player, was accepted for exhibit in a famous Paris art show. Now, consider the context. Her painting, A Mandolin Player, was accepted for exhibit in a famous Paris art show. Well, that is a great success for a person who wants to have a breakthrough in the world of art. And for this to happen in Paris, well, that's a big deal. Well, actually, it is a big deal today if it happens anywhere around the world. If your work is accepted for a famous art gallery to be exhibited in a famous art gallery, that is a big deal. But especially back in the day, Paris was the center of the modern art world, and to have your painting accepted for an exhibit in a famous Paris art show is a big deal. So, what was the effect of this thing? Her confidence surged. So, are we talking about something that gave a boost to her confidence, or are we talking about something that broke her confidence? Obviously, it gave her a big boost. So, a surge is a sudden large increase in something that has previously been steady or has only increased or developed slowly. So for her confidence, we didn't say she was not a confident woman. No, she was a confident woman. That's why she did what she did, and she pursued her passion all the way to Paris. But maybe her confidence was improving slowly, steadily, slowly, and that's all good. But after this big event, her confidence surged. There was a sudden large increase in her confidence. So if something surges, it increases suddenly and greatly after being steady or developing slowly. So that was about surge. Now let's move to the next word, deter. D-E-T-E-R, deter. Now, in our story, we said that in Mary Cassatt's day, most women married and raised families. Few women had careers, but that did not deter her. If we think about it, we know from the rest of the story that she didn't marry and she preferred art over marriage and domestic life, but that was the norm back then. Women were expected just to get married, raise children, and that's about it. They were not expected to have careers. That was the norm. That was what society expected Mary to do. But did that deter her? Did that stop her? No, it did not. And she became a great success and a great example for women even today on how to challenge the social norms and pursue what they're passionate about. But the word deter itself, so it means to deter someone from doing something, means to make them not want to do it or continue doing it. So obviously to discourage you, to inhibit you, to put you off, to frighten you sometimes, and eventually to stop you from doing it. But of course, we said here that that did not deter Mary, and she pursued her passions. And now we come to our last word for our story about Mary Cassatt, and that is adhere. 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 Now, in our story, we said eventually she decided not to adhere to these themes alone. We were talking about the first themes she worked on: social events, nightlife, people at work, and scenes of the theater. But then she decided not to adhere to these themes alone. She chose to portray domestic life. She chose other things. She did not stick to those themes alone. So if you adhere to an opinion or belief, you support or hold it, or you kind of like stick to it. And here we're not talking about a belief or opinion. We're talking about a theme. And obviously she started with some common themes, but then she did not adhere to them. She changed. She chose other themes. So that was all about Mary Cassatt and the words I wanted to share with you today. Remember that you can find more words if you follow the link I will leave in the description. On my website, there will be 20 words, and you will have the opportunity to add even more to your vocabulary bank. And that's not everything. You can have the full transcript of this episode in the link as well, and you will have a link to interactive activities you can practice on Quizlet. This is your host, Danny. Thank you very much for listening to the podcast today. I will see you next time.